I'm back with another video. Cape Town, South Africa is one of my favorite places. Go there often. This video is about my experience in Cape Town and the Western Cape. Here we go. So this trip actually begins with a very long flight to Cape Town, South Africa. So we're going to start here. Now, it is true that I typically do not do cities or major metropolitan areas, but there are very few major metropolitan areas that have a backdrop like this. Cape Town, South Africa has Table Mountain on one side and the Atlantic Ocean on the other. As far as major metropolitan areas go, this one is one of the most beautiful that I have seen, and I have seen a few. So this video is going to be about Cape Town and the Western Cape. Cape Town is home to 4.7 million people. But before all of those people showed up, the Khoisan people occupied what we know now as Cape Town. DNA suggested the Khoisan were the first people to occupy the earth, and they have done so for over 100,000 years. They called what we know as Cape Town this. The Khoisan language involves clicking. I cannot speak in clicks, so I will not insult my Khoisan brothers and sisters by butchering their language. As I said at the beginning, I am not one for cities. I'm a nature kind of dude. However, there are not many cities where you wake up every morning and look at this. This is Table Mountain. It is one of the 7 wonders of the world. It is one of the oldest mountains on the planet. It was formed 260 million years ago when South America crashed into what we know now as Africa in the formation of the supercontinent Pangaea. That collision and the continental drift following that caused the uplift and creation of what we see now as Table Mountain. Table Mountain stands 3,563 feet above sea level. It was at one time 3 times the elevation that it is now. Wind and rain over millions of years have eroded it to what we see today. The indigenous name for Table Mountain is Otaquego, which means mountain of the sea. It is the most photographed landmark in the nation of South Africa. It is also the richest floral kingdom in the world with over 8,000 plant species. 80% of them are endemic. The United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, otherwise known by its acronym UNESCO, named Table Mountain a World Heritage Site in 2004. There are a couple ways that you can reach the summit of Table Mountain. You can hike. There are several trails that will take you to the summit. I'm going to tell you now, every time I go here, deal with a lot of jet lag, not about hiking to the top of Table Mountain. Nope, not really feeling up to that. The overwhelming majority of the 4 million people who visit Table Mountain every year ride the cable car. First off, let me say this. If you're afraid of heights, the cable car may not be for you. I've done it a couple of times, really enjoyed it. A couple things about this. There is a long line to ride this cable car. Get there early. Number 2, costs about $26 US. And number 3, take a jacket. It's chilly at the top. The cable car ride was somewhere between 15 to 20 minutes. It is very scenic. The cable car will rotate 360 degrees and give you a bird's eye view of Cape Town, the ocean, the mountain, and many of its features. There are restrooms, there's a restaurant, there's a gift shop. There's always a gift shop. You can make a day on top of Table Mountain, and I would suggest you do so. One thing though, the cable car system only works when the weather is good. Well, let's think about this. You do not want to be on a cable car in bad weather. So it does not run every day. If you're in Cape Town, you have a clear day, take advantage of it. Take that car to the summit of Table Mountain. It will not disappoint. There are several parts to Table Mountain. Table Mountain National Park is quite expansive. After you leave the summit, I suggest you go to Signal Hill, which is on the north end of Table Mountain. And from there, you will get a completely different perspective. You will see the actual tabletop of the mountain. You will see Lion's Head, the 12 Apostles, Devil's Peak, and McLean's Beacon. From Signal Hill, you will get another sweeping view of the Atlantic Ocean and the city of Cape Town. You'll see the stadium where the World Cup was played. You will also see in the distance Robben Island, which is where Nelson Mandela served 18 years of his 27 years in incarceration. And if you have a chance, I highly recommend that you purchase a ticket and take the ferry out to Robben Island. It was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1999. It is quite educational. I highly suggest you go. After you spend some time at the summit of Table Mountain and Signal Hill, I would suggest making the 45-minute drive to another section of the Table Mountain National Park called Boulders Beach. And one might ask, why go to Boulders Beach? Because you want to see them. Yes, there are penguins on the African continent. These are South African penguins. This species of penguin only lives in South Africa. Due to a number of factors, the penguin population in South Africa is in decline. However, I have been here 3 times and I've always seen penguins here. There's a peak population of about 2,200 of these penguins. They're here during their mating season from March till May. A couple things about South African penguins. They're the smallest of the penguin species. They weigh somewhere between 5 to 7 pounds. They are about 24 to 28 inches tall, and they can live in the wild up to 25 years. They are monogamous, meaning they mate for life. They have what is called a catastrophic molt. The chicks will lose their feathers all at once, and they cannot swim until their new plumage grows. Fun fact about South African penguins, they can drink salt water. And that's a good thing, seeing as how they spend most of their time out to sea. It cost about $14 US to enter Boulders Beach. And when you do so, just remember this. These penguins appear really cute and cuddly. But I can tell you now, if you try to pet and or feed the penguins, because you can get really close to them, you're probably going to lose a finger. I've said this once, I will say it again. It's called wildlife for a reason. Don't feed the penguins. They're not your friend. Another 30 to 35-minute drive from Boulders Beach is the Cape of Good Hope and Cape Point. A couple things about the Cape of Good Hope. We've often thought it was the most southern tip of the African continent, and that is where the Atlantic met the Indian Ocean. Nope. That point is actually Cape Agulhas, which is about 93 miles east of the Cape of Good Hope. The Cape of Good Hope, or actually where you see this sign where you will find hordes of tourists taking pictures in front of them, and yes, I am one of them, is said to be the most southwestern point on the continent of Africa. However, that's not true either. It's pretty close. That place is actually called Cape Point, which is only about a 10-minute drive from here. The landscape and vegetation is somewhat different from Table Mountain. However, it is all made of the same sandstone created from uplift. You will also see wildlife here. I've seen ostrich, I've seen eland, which is a very large antelope, and you will also see baboons. Something I learned, many of us have seen ostrich before. What many of us may not know is the distinction between male and female ostrich. Most of us in photographs and imagery have seen ostrich that are black and white. Those are males. The females are actually gray. Like many in the bird species, the males in the bird species tend to have more ornate plumage because they are trying to attract females. I've said this before. It doesn't matter what the species is, dudes are always out here trying to flex. Eland are the nation's largest antelope. They look like cows on steroids, actually. They're quite big. They're pretty impressive. They're also very shy and tend to stay at higher elevations. And then there are baboons. There are several troops of baboons that live in the Cape of Good Hope and Cape Point, especially in the Cape Point area. And let me say this, there are many wildlife species that get a bad rap. Sharks and wolves come to mind. A lot of the news surrounding them is actually mythology. That's not the case of baboons. These dudes are just straight gangsters. They are quite aggressive. So do yourself a favor, keep your food in your car or in the restaurant. They will try to open your car door. They will try to take it from your hand. Please be careful around the baboons. The males especially can be very aggressive to the point where there have been some people who have had to make emergency room visits because they got too close to the baboon. I'm going to say it again, wildlife for a reason. Please don't feed the baboons. Interesting things about the Cape of Good Hope. It is part of the major trade route between Europe and Asia where ships could dock. And although it was considered safe harbor, there are somewhere between 500 and 2,000 ships at the bottom of the ocean around the Cape of Good Hope because it is also known for its very, very rough seas. There's a lighthouse at Cape Point, and there are two ways you can reach it. There is a set of stairs, and you can hike, which I did, and I would suggest going to the lighthouse. It is quite a view. However, just know you are not looking at the Indian Ocean. You're actually looking at what is called False Bay. Thank you for watching. I would appreciate it if you help me build my YouTube channel by clicking that like and subscribe button. Thank you. I have visited the Western Cape several times, and every time I have done and learned something new. I encourage you to visit Table Mountain, Boulders Beach, the Cape of Good Hope, and Cape Point. I also suggest that you take a moment to explore things in Cape Town. There's the Boat Camp neighborhood. There's Langa Township, which I strongly suggest you take a tour of, and not just ride through on a bus. No, get out and go have a meal. You won't be disappointed. I plan to be back in Cape Town within a year. There's a lot to see and do here, but until then, I will leave you with this. Thank you for watching. I'll be back with another video soon. Please tune in.